Hey everyone, I'm Jessica. Today we'll be talking about Shining Force: The Resurrection of the Dark Dragon on the Game Boy Advance. Shining Force is a tactical turn-based RPG, originally released on the Sega Genesis under the name Shining Force: The Legacy of Great Intention. Resurrection of the Dark Dragon is a remake of the original, offering 3 new characters, updated graphics, a reward system based off of certain victory conditions, and a card collection. I was first introduced to the Shining Force series through the Game Boy Advance release, and wouldn't get a chance to play a version of the original until much later when it was released on iOS devices. FYI, it's no longer available on the App Store, but you can pick it up for a few dollars on Steam. With that being said, let's get started.
The story follows the journey of Max, a warrior who lost his memory. Probably sounds familiar to a lot of you. It's your job along with a team of warriors to stop an evil wizard Dark Soul, who controls the army of Runefest in his plot to resurrect the Dark Dragon. Aside from it being your basic story of light versus darkness, there are some neat little plot twists. Nothing I would call heavily complex, but it gives you enough to think about. The adventure begins in the Kingdom of Guardiana, when the king requests you check out a disturbance at the Gate of the Ancients. You meet your team at the headquarters and are on your way. The gate ends up collapsing, and while you're away, the kingdom is attacked by the army of Runefest. With this new turn of events, you set off back to the kingdom. Leading the attack is a swordsman named Kane, who wields a devastating darksaber. This is where your journey begins. In total, there are 8 chapters to play through. In each chapter, you'll journey to different towns and villages, recruiting more allies and defeating evil. Fairly typical of your classic RPG. There are a decent variety of places you'll travel to, a couple being a caravan with a pig pen, and even meeting a group of mermaids. In this game, unlike the original, there are epilogues at the end of earlier chapters, where you get to know the journey of 3 new characters: Narsha, daughter of the king of Runefest, Moloch the Cardmaster, and Zukia a Terminator. You also learn information about what's going on behind the scenes on the dark side. As far as the hero Max himself goes, he doesn't have a ton of personality, but the members of the Shining Force and the characters you interact with throughout your journey more than make up for it. As far as presentation goes, this looks pretty good for a GBA game, and I think it holds up nicely. Something I really appreciate in games is when they can do the most with their graphical limitations, and Shining Force in my opinion succeeds at that. Character sprites were updated and each character has their own unique design, rather than many sprites being palette swaps like the original. In battle, when action commands are used, such as an attack or magic ability, a short action scene will play. There are some pretty flashy attacks later in game that really make you feel powerful and keeps the game visually appealing. Although there is a good variety in the types of towns you visit, a lot of them look pretty similar, and that may be a bit of a detriment to some people. The overall gameplay pretty much works like this. Step 1, go to a town. Step 2, battle. Step 3, travel. Step 4, battle. And repeat. It's a very linear game design. All battles follow the same general objective: defeat the boss, defeat all enemies, or reach the destination. 12 members of the Shining Force can be taken into battle, Max being a requirement. In total, there are 33 characters to choose from, some essential to the main story, and many you need to interact with or accomplish a certain task in order to recruit. It is possible to skip over a lot of characters if you choose not to explore. There's quite a selection of characters to choose from. You have your standard wizards and archers, a werewolf, flying bird people, to Domingo the floating jellyfish, and more. Battle takes place on a grid where you command your troops against the enemy, kind of like a giant chessboard where each piece can travel different distances and ways. Each character can attack at different ranges depending on their weapon or type of attack. There are 4 options in battle: attack, stay, cast magic, or use an item. Characters gain experience by battling enemies, healing team members, or boosting each other's attributes through certain magical spells in combat. As characters gain EXP, they level up, and at level 10 can be promoted by visiting a priest to a more advanced class that can equip more powerful weapons. Priests can also remove curses from characters, save progress, and unlike games like Fire Emblem, you also have the option to revive allies that have fallen in battle. Be careful of promoting characters too early, especially magic users. Levels gained are cumulative, meaning that if someone learns a spell at level 30, but you advance them at level 10 rather than 20, you have to wait to learn that spell at the promotion level of 20 rather than 10, which can be a bit more difficult. There are 30 battles in total, 33 if you count the epilogues, ranging from 10 to 20 minutes each. There are no random battles, so if you want to grind, you'll have to enter a battle, fight some enemies, and escape, which will save the experience gained. You can also die and keep the experience, but you lose half the gold you have on you, so I wouldn't recommend it. Grinding, in all honesty, isn't necessary unless you really want to use certain characters that are a little on the weak side when you first get them. In towns like most RPGs, you'll want to explore and talk to everyone. You can purchase items and weapons, meet new characters, find secrets, hang out as a chicken, and collect cards. Shining Force does a nice job of adding little tidbits of humor throughout the gameplay. One thing I found odd is there's no way to recover MP at all. No overly priced item, no super rare drop from a boss, nothing. Magic is depleted rather quickly, so there's a lot of times you'll have to pick and choose how to get the most out of it. There are quite a few magic users though, so that may be a reason to decide to leave it out, and they can be incredibly useful if you put the effort into raising them. My personal favorites being Domingo and Henri. The remake allows you to have conversations with members of the Shining Force if you visit them at the headquarters. They can be anything from backstories to talks about their favorite food. Each time you take a character into battle, battle and they survive, they'll give you a little bit more of the story. I found these pretty entertaining and caused me to frequent the headquarters after every battle. You can also receive certain ally cards through this. So finally getting to the cards. I know I mentioned them quite a bit already. The cards, besides being a collectible, are equipment for the Card Master Moloch. By using them he can attack enemies, boost an ally's stats, or even allow a character to move twice. This can be really helpful if you decide to grind or just raising certain characters more quickly. It can make the game a bit easy, but it really helps keep the pace up, so it's an option I took advantage of. This game is in no sense hard, but after beating the game you can enter New Game Plus, where you keep all your cards and the enemies get slightly more difficult each playthrough. Although I enjoy the battle scenes, I wish there was an option to turn them off, especially in subsequent playthroughs or when you're grinding and just want to move things along. There was a nice little fight animation in the very first scene of the game, and if they were to incorporate something like that, I think it would dramatically benefit the flow of the game.
Unlike games like Fire Emblem and Final Fantasy Tactics, rather than just having an overworld, Shining Force really gives you that classic RPG feel by physically exploring towns and interacting with characters combined with the battle system of a tactical RPG. The game plays a little slow in the beginning but really picks up towards the end. Overall, a good game to play. Give it a try if you enjoy tactical RPGs or just want somewhere to start. If you can't get the GBA version, then give the original a try, which you can pick up on Steam for a few dollars. Hope you enjoyed this review. I'll see you next time. Take it easy.